this is an interesting one. Echo Vector X is it's a band that has been born out of a couple of issues. I would say, namely distance and also a pandemic.
Get Radio Breakfast with Rich Smith.
Band week here at Get Radio continues. It's only Tuesday, but I've absolutely loved it so far. We've heard some amazing music, and we've heard everything as well. We really, really have, which is amazing. The Oxfordshire Music Scene is just ridiculous at the moment, and thoroughly looking forward to catching up with our next guest. Echo Vector X. Here's Eric. Morning, Eric.
Hello.
Thanks so much for joining us this morning. Just to let everyone know, whilst the Black Eyed Peas were playing, we were having a little bit of a geek out with Eric's studio in the background, which is absolutely stunning and beautiful. We might get onto that in just a sec. But first and foremost, this is an interesting one. Echo Vector X is it's a band that has been born out of a couple of issues. I would say, namely distance and also a pandemic. Tell us more, Eric.
Well, the short version is that we are half an Oxford band, seeing that I'm the Oxford part of it. The other half is in Providence, Rhode Island, which seems like an unlikely place to select a bandmate from, probably. Well, the short version of it is that James and I used to share a flat together. I'm from America originally. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. We met at a secondhand record store and just got on famously, ended up sharing a flat together. And then I ended up coming over to the UK. We always threatened to do something together. And that was a couple of decades ago. And then the pandemic hit. And the weirdest thing is the first stuff that we started talking about was actually before the whole lockdown and pandemic. He had just sent me a demo. He was playing around with some keyboard sounds for the first time because he's ostensibly a guitarist. So he said, well, I've got this stuff, but I don't know how to use keyboards. Can you help me out? What does this sound like? And I'm like, well, whittle here, little tweaky thing here, send it back. He goes, do you want to do some more? And then we started getting into it, and then lockdown hit, and that kind of gave us the momentum. And frankly, working in the music industry that I do, gave me a bit of time because everything shut down for everyone, really, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And in terms of that, I mean, just for people kind of listening now, I mean, we have issues with literally every single person that comes on with Zoom. Here we are 3 years later after discovering what Zoom is. And people trying to sort of jump on that and going, oh, I think I'm still muted. Oh, I think I'm... Yeah. Where's my camera again? Where's my camera? Just describe what it's like from a musician's point of view through the transfer of music and the distance, 4,000 miles between both of you. And the pandemic too. How that creative process is like.
Well, it kind of started originally sort of like a back and forth. It's here's an idea, sent it to me. I would, mess around with things and send it back, and he would listen to it and go, oh, I like this, I don't like that. And as we decided, well, let's actually do something about this. I mean, I don't think this would have been possible without the broadband speeds that we have these days, which is probably the thing that, that kept us working together for so long, being separated by an ocean. But what we ended up doing is sort of consolidating the tools we used. He bought some stuff that I bought some stuff that he had. So we sort of had a matching set of tools so that the number of files that we needed to send back and forth. I mean, I've used a program called Cubase, which I've been using since about 1995. So I said, no, mate, you're using Cubase, right? I know how to fly that thing. So, we found the parallels there. And then, yeah, because he was more of the songwriter, and I always put my hand up that I'm more of a producer as much as anything. So he kind of handed over demos, and I just turned them into something else. And then we just sort of back and forth it, as you say, on Zoom, and had arguments and freakouts and got it into a shape of revision, which really isn't much different from giving something to a mix engineer, going away for a cup of tea, coming back in and saying, what does it sound like now? So when you think about it in that process, it's not really that different. It's just the sitting down and jamming with each other, that kind of didn't happen. So it was more of a, here's a mostly finished thing, let's put it into shape.
Oh, brilliant stuff. And I'm going to ask you, because working as a duo, I'm working, as a producer in the kind of music industry. I'm always intrigued by, like you say, you get something, and you tweak it and you do your little bits and bobs, and then you sort of present it back. Is the reaction of going, actually, oh, I don't like this? Is that a harder one to actually go, do you know what? I think you might have made it worse. I'm not suggesting you do that. No, but you know what I mean. You know it.
That definitely has happened. but from that standpoint and being involved with music and bands and that sort of thing, is you have to not take it personally too much. I mean, it's hard not to sometimes. But to be honest with you, I have 3 of the tracks that we started working on for the album. You haven't heard what they were in the middle of between the demo and what is on the album, because we started playing around with the sort of more, My Bloody Valentine, Cocteau Twins, shoegazy wall of guitars and delay and reverb kind of stuff on there. And it was just through back and forth going, I don't know if this works. I don't know. What about this? What about this? And I said, well, look, I'm a synth guy. You're a guitar guy. So we have to have guitars and synths. But if I'm going to do stuff to it, let's just strip out the guitars and let me do my synth thing. You've written some good songs. Let's just do it that way. And we got there. And, we're working on new stuff now, which has a bit more guitar in it. But yeah, I mean, you have to have a conversation back and forth, and that can be musically or it can be verbally. And thankfully, with the 4,000 mile difference, it doesn't involve throwing things, right?
You have to have a good arm for that, definitely.
Yeah.
So you touched on sort of album. What can we expect sort of release-wise and summer-wise for Echo Vector X?
Well, literally last night, and I use that word correctly, I received a message saying that James has recorded the vocals for the final track that we're working on. Well, I say that we may have 2 more. But this process is a bit longer because of that transfer back and forth, because I can't just have them in a room and say, oh, do that take again, do that take again, do that take again. So that is a bit of a longer process. But the album, we have enough tracks and a few more ready to go. After I hang up this call with you, I'm cracking on with one of the tracks that I've been working on. We'd like to get something out before the end of the year. I know a lot of people don't understand why it takes so long to go from having an idea to putting it out in the real world. So what we've been trying to do on social media is go back through the first album and spend a bit of time on each track, sort of explaining how that worked. From a practical standpoint, it buys us a bit of time to do this in the background. But yeah, we do have the album ready. We think it's going to be a bit more, not summery vibes, but a bit more uplifting and a bit more sort of Miami 80s rather than cyberpunk 80s.
Brilliant stuff. Well, I can't wait for that on Tenterhooks for all of that. Now, we must just quickly, now we're going to have a little geek out, okay? Just a very quick one, Eric, because we're pressed for time. Otherwise, I'd be here until all day, and you've got work to do, and I've got work to do. But in the background of your studio, you have a very, very beautiful Roland Space Echo, which is very, very, very sought after piece of equipment. Just explain how you came about that, Eric, and make everyone jealous this morning, including me.
Well, first of all, I have to say I still have the vinyl slipcover for it that it came with.
Wow.
And it's still got the original tape in it. The original user did not use it very much. Probably because they didn't understand what it was, because I got it at a car boot sale for £10. It was labeled as tape recorder. And the guy who was selling it said, I'm really sorry, I don't have a microphone to go with it. I probably could have argued him down, but you ever get that hot sweat up the back of your neck when it's like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. Oh my God. So I just bought it and got the hell out of there as quickly as possible before anyone caught on.
It's a brilliant story. Anyone that has seen a bargain of anything, not necessarily a beautiful Echo machine, but seen a bargain, you got to go, oh, they could be getting thousands for this, and I'm going to get it for a tenner. This is great. Yeah. This is great. Oh, amazing. Eric, I could geek out with you all day. I really, really could. Let's just quickly go on to where can we find out? You said social media, and also tell us a little bit about the single "Breathe" that we're going to play. Yeah.
So we lucked out, and all our social media is just Echo Vector X. We spend a lot of time on Instagram and TikTok. Obviously, we're on Facebook and Twitter for as long as that lasts anymore. And we've just claimed our Threads profile. So who knows what's going on there? But yeah, we're going back through a lot of the stuff. We covered Breathe a couple of weeks ago, but there are a couple of videos up of me talking about how we put it together. And this was one that I really enjoyed the most, and I think it kind of helped define the sound for the album, which is why I thought this would be a great track for you, because it has that real sort of 80s keyboards driving it forwards. And the other thing I really like about it is what I think James and I do really well is if you listen to the lyrics, they're really, really dark. And they just reflect the album. You know, a lot of the tracks on the album are about humanity and AI, and a lot of the stuff that's going on at the moment is, you know, who's to say what's real and who's to say what's quote unquote human in this world. And I think Breathe really touches on that. You know, the connection between us and another being, be it sentient AI or be it an actual human.
Love it. Well, that's a hell of an introduction, and can't wait to listen to it. This is Echo Vector X and Breathe on Get Radio on Band Week.